I'm your host, Eric Smith, and today I'm talking about Deadlands, Ghostwalkers by Jonathan Maberry. This is from Tor and the Pinnacle Entertainment Group. Uh, it's an original novel based on the Deadlands role-playing game, which is a weird Western horror role-playing game. And I think there used to be a card game as well, and there may be some other things. But this is a novel, all original book. See? So, um, what you have here in this particular book, our main character is Gray Torrance. He's a former soldier in the war between the states, and at this point in his life, he is both figuratively and literally being haunted by those in his past, and he's traveling west, just sort of trying to escape everything. And he gets into some scrapes, and he encounters a gentleman by the name of Thomas Looksaway, who is from a member of the Sioux tribe, and they team up and they continue heading west. They're headed towards a town called Paradise Falls. There are some things that they encountered, and they're looking for answers. And Thomas Looksaway works for a scientist named Dr. Saint, I believe it was, and Looksaway thinks he might have some answers to these weird things they're encountering. Well, they get to Paradise Falls and hook up with Jenny Pearl, a young woman who is a resident there, and they learn all about what's going on in this town, which is there are a couple of land baron type fellows that are squeezing Paradise Falls. They're mining ghost rock. They're trying to take over the town, drive the residents out, and as we'll learn, there's actually more going on than that, but Gray Torrance, Thomas Looksaway, they both get involved to save the town, because it's a Western, and it's weird. And that's your basic setup. I probably should have mentioned, in the world of Deadlands, let's see, in 1868, there was a great quake that, I'm just going to read it right off the back of the book. The Great Quake of 1868 shattered California into a lawless labyrinth of sea-flooded canyons, and it brought to the surface, for lack of a better way to put it, ghost rock, which is a strange rock with weird properties. And it does all sorts of weird things, and I'll probably mention some of those as we move along. But basically, that's the setup for Ghostwalkers. Almost a typical Western kind of setup, with the sort of driftery character coming into a town and getting involved in the problems and trying to help the citizens of that town. We've seen that sort of thing plenty of times in numerous Westerns. Of course, the biggest thing that sets this apart is that it is a Deadlands book, so there's all sorts of craziness going on. There's as I said, Deadlands is horror and Western and steampunk elements to it, all sorts of craziness, and that's all in here. Gray Torrance is a great character, very archetypal character. Although as a personal note, I always seem to notice that when you have these sort of characters that are former soldiers in the Civil War, I always thought they tended to be Confederate soldiers. Jonah Hex, a character I love, former Confederate soldier. Outlaw Josie Wales, or just Josie Wales, I guess is the character's name. Former Confederate soldier. That seemed to be kind of a thing that I thought I noticed. But in this particular case, Gray is a former Union soldier. So for me, at least, that's something that's a little bit new. But again, a great character. As I said, running from his past, and he is literally being haunted by his past, as well as figuratively. He's that sort of um, not down on his luck, but sort of just it's almost like he's kind of given up on things because of what's happened to him in the past. He's very guilt ridden, very hard on himself, and um, maybe he'll have a chance for redemption. We'll see. Thomas looks away. Fantastic character. Um, as I said, he's a member of the Sioux Nation, but he was went to school in England, so he speaks with a British accent and says things like, when he's startled, maybe he'll say something like, "By the Queen's lacy panties." I'm not even going to try a British accent, but he'll say, "By the Queen's lacy panties," um, or things to that effect. He's a very a great character. I love, I just love picturing him, um, and the things he says and the things he does. And again, he's something of a scientist, not to the caliber of Dr. Saint, whom he works for, but he does know all sorts of very interesting things. Definitely seems to be smarter than Gray Torrance. Um, and the two of them make a great pair. A nice, they're very different from each other. Uh, so the two of them together have great chemistry. Um, Jenny Pearl, another nice character. Maybe a bit typical in some ways to the female lead in this kind of story, in that she's in a time when women weren't necessarily full-fledged citizens or treated that way. She's the headstrong, smart, scrappy woman um, that's trying to hold before Gray and Thomas looks away. Get to Paradise Falls. She's trying to hold the town together. She's rebelling against the two bad guys. So, I, at least for me, I've seen that in a lot of westerns. You in the background you have the women that know their place. I'm not saying that. That's why I'm throwing up the air quotes. We are talking about the late 1800s, and then you tend to have that female protagonist who's the sort of rebel. Um, and so Jenny is that, but she's still a good character. Again, and another nice contrast with the other characters. And I forgot there's a monk as well, and I didn't jot his name down in my notes. I want to say it's like Brother Thomas for some reason, but I'm not sure if that's correct. He's an interesting character in that he's part of a group of um, religious figures that had been excommunicated from the church, but have sort of been given a chance to rejoin by becoming part of this sort of pariah group. Uh, and so he's very believes in God, very religious. And again, so he makes a nice contrast, especially to someone like Gray, who's not much of a believer. So you have all these characters, and they're thrown into this situation. You have the two bad guys, and they're really, really squeezing the town dry, almost literally. One of them owns the water rights, so uh, a citizen of the town can't even go to the well and take a drink of water without being arrested because they're breaking the law. It's someone else's water; they're stealing it, and they're um, mining for the ghost rock, and so you've got all this stuff going on, and then you throw in one of the staples of Deadlands, I think, is zombies. The ghost rock can bring the dead back to life, but it can also be used to make weapons and as bullets and to power sort of steampunky weapons. So the ghost rock does all sorts of stuff, and the bad guys aren't averse to using zombies and other monstrous creatures and bizarre contraptions to get what they want. And I'm not even going to tell you everything that's in here because there is so much stuff. So much craziness. I love it the way it's all thrown together, but it all works. Uh, so this is what they would call a rip-roaring adventure, and you got to love that cover right there. It gives you a feel for the spookiness of the story, and it's a pretty good sized book. I picked up the trade paperback when it first came out. It is available now in mass market paperback, so you don't necessarily have to shell out the what did I pay for this? $15.99. I assume the paperback's probably $8, so you pay half the price to get the same story. And there's a lot going on in here, but it moves quickly. The characters, I think, are going to hold your attention. The action definitely is going to hold your attention. It moves from action piece to action piece to action piece. There is some downtime, and we get to know the characters a little better. We get to see how well they all work together and play off of each other. And then next thing you know, more zombies are attacking, or a ghost storm. I'm not sure if I can't remember if that's what they call it. But a huge, crazy storm where crazy things happen might pass through. Or, again, I don't want to tell you everything. I want you to be surprised by some of the stuff that pops up in this book because it's wild. But if you like crazy, weird westerns, if you like pulpy, very pulp style stories, there's a lot of the things in here reminiscent of Edgar Rice Burroughs and that type of stuff. So, really, I don't think there's anything more specific that I want to mention because, again, I don't want to give anything away. Lots of cool surprises in here. So, that being said, we'll jump right into my rating. So, I mentioned how much stuff is in here, just so much stuff. So, I decided to go a little off the reservation, no pun intended. Instead of drawing something based on something specific in the book, since Jonathan Maberry threw in everything but the kitchen sink, I decided I might as well just finish it off. So we have 4.5 out of 5 kitchen sinks. Yeah, not the greatest, but you get the idea. So now this book has everything and the kitchen sink. 4.5 out of 5. Really just a lot of fun. If you've ever played Deadlands, I haven't played it, so I want to say if you like the game that you're going to like this book. I assume so, but I could be completely wrong on that. Maybe it's nothing like the game, and you'll be disappointed with it. But I kind of doubt that. Jonathan Maberry is a great author, and everything I've read by him has been fantastic, and I don't see him taking any weird left turns away from what this is supposed to be based on. So if you like the game, I say give this a try. If you like, again, weird westerns or horror or a little bit of steam, it's not super steampunk, but there's some steampunky elements to it. Pick it up if you just want to read something crazy, wild, exciting, pulpy, with twists and turns and all sorts of wild things. Pick it up and read it. Obviously, I'm giving the recommendation with 4.5 kitchen sinks. So that's Deadlands, Ghostwalkers by Jonathan Maberry. I'll have a link for the book in the description below. I'll probably put a link for the trade if you like a nice big book like I do. I'll put a link for the mass market paperback as well if you don't want to spend as much money but you still want to pick it up. Hey, nothing wrong with being fiscal. Fiscal, that doesn't make any sense. Nothing wrong with fiscal responsibility. How about that? So anyway, links in the description below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. If you've played the game, and if you've and read the book, let me know how well it matches up. And I think that covers everything. So please like, share, and subscribe. This has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been your host, Eric Smith. And until next time, read more books.